Welcome back. We're on part 2, page 4, and I had you set this sheet off to the side as well as these pieces. So we're going to start off by grabbing some cardstock. So we're going to cut a piece of cardstock that is 6 3/4 of an inch by 8 1/2 inches. So let's do that. I'm 8 1/2 inches across. So I'm going to use the same punch I used on page 3, which is the deeper edge, and I'm going to punch along the long side. So let's do that. This is what you should have. So when you cut your piece of cardstock, you had a leftover piece, which is 8 1/2 wide by 4 1/4 inches this way. Let's go ahead and punch along the long side here. Alright, so what I want you to do is grab your larger trim piece, slide that back in your punch and line up your left side to your punch so that it is correct. Now, in order to get this to punch and line up, because we only have 6 inches across this way, slide this in. And when you're doing this, what I want you to do is make sure that you have even spacing of black still showing. Now, once you have that there, go ahead and keep this in your punch, and carefully, I'm going to push up here on this so it doesn't come out, and I'm going to remove the black, just like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and punch along the long side. So let's do that. And what this will do is keep us so that we have a good lineup. For instance, now when I place this in the center, I'm going to get this lined up, and I still have some black showing here. So what we're going to do right now is apply glue to the back of this, and we're going to mount this right on our trim, right over the top. And I have mine slightly down so that I can still see black, and you'll see a little bit of black outlined through here. So let's go ahead and do that. I've got my glue on here, and one thing you're going to make sure is you do get glue on those edges over here where your punch had cut off. So get mine on there, and any glue that seeps out, just clean it up. Once you've got yours all cleaned up, set this off to the side, and we're going to do the same thing we just did. I'm going to put this in, and I'm going to line up everything. I'm going to take this and slip it in so that I still have black showing on either side. And then once I know where that's supposed to be, I'll just kind of push up here and remove. And now I'm going to punch across this. So let's do that. Okay, let's apply our glue to the back and mount this the same way we did the other, where we still have a little bit of black showing up here and a little black outline. And you will have a little extra black showing down here, but don't worry about that. I've got both my pieces ready to go here. Let's go ahead and grab our score tape. We're going to have a double pocket. I'll lay my first piece of score tape right here. Make sure your score tape, press it down really good. I'm going to grab the larger one and center it and bring it down, and then I'm going to turn it over, wrap my flaps around the back, and then I'll tack that down just like that. Okay, let's grab another piece of score tape, and we're going to place that down at the bottom, and we're going to mount our second one the same way. And again, I like to bend mine a little to give it a little curve. And then we're going to wrap our flaps around the back and tack it down. Now, cut 2 pieces of your lace, and I am using this one with the blings. I've cut a piece that's going to fit right across here, and the tip is centered. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut another piece where the tip is centered under that. And then I'm going to glue those down. So a tip for this, when you're gluing this down, grab a piece of cardstock and just put it right back behind. So any glue on the tip of this, it won't adhere to the back here. And then when I'm done gluing this down, I'm going to do the same thing by slipping it in this pocket for when I'm gluing this one down. Let's go ahead and get in our die cuts. I have a pink one of these. I have this saying here. I have the love heart die cut, and I will always love you. For flowers, this is from the 49th Street flower pack, and I put a flat back pearl in the center. Out of the Petaloo black burlap, I grabbed one of the small flowers, and then I've got two pink Kaisercraft roses and paper blooms, and then one of the black. So let's start with this one, and that is the burlap one. And I'm going to slide in a piece of cardstock here, and I'm going to add a little glue, and I'm going to stick it right here. Okay. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to glue this one down right like this. Okay. I'm going to put this one right here. This one slightly goes right here. These three flowers come right down here. And I'll have these down in a moment. The I will always love you will go right here. And then this one, we're going to put a 3D dot back behind. I've got all mine glued down. I have my 3D dot ready to go, and that just goes right here. This page is complete. You can flip it over, score tape around the outside, one down the middle, two shorter ones on either side, and let's mount this in our book. Page 4 is done. Let's move on to page 5. Okay, in your paper pack you will find this sheet, the pink, and then on the back side it looks like this. We'll trim off this trimming, and oh, remember, you definitely want to keep all these trimmings. On one side it has the sentiments. Let's measure over 6 inches and cut. Okay, I'm just going to double these up now. Measure over 8 inches and cut. Okay, so this is what you should have. Let's go ahead and just flip those over. These two pieces we're going to need for our page 5. This is our page 6. Just set that off to the side where we won't get into it. And we're going to start with these. Grab both of these pieces, and we're going to trim off 1/8 of an inch off the side of both of these. So let's do that. Okay, we can set these off to the side. Okay, cut 2 pieces of cardstock that is 4 3/4 of an inch by 6 inches. Let's grab our small 1/2 inch punch, and I'm going to use the abstract flower. And I'm 6 inches, this is the long side, and on each one of these I'm going to punch across. Okay, I have both of these. I'm going to set those off to the side. Actually, I'm going to bring it back to double check to make sure I get this straight. We're going to do the same thing we did before. Just kind of line this up, grab this piece, and we're going to slide this in. However, we're going to leave just about a 1/16 inch of black showing on either side, and then we're going to pull this out and punch along the long side. This is what you should have on both of yours. We're going to apply glue to the back of this, and we're going to slide this up so that we still have some black showing up here. We're even to side, and that way it gives us a nice little black border. And then we're going to glue this down. Now one thing you're going to make sure is that you have even amount of spacing from the bottom of this to here on each side. So make sure that you are straight. So let's do that. Let's grab our scoreboard. And I'm going to lay mine down over here, but I'm going to score right underneath the pink decorative paper here on this one. It's about 3/4 of an inch on mine. And then I'm also going to score at, I'd say 5/8. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing on this one, about 3/4 of an inch or right below yours, and then about 5/8. And then I'm going to fold on my score lines here. Let's go ahead and attach these. Don't worry about the back. We will get those all straightened away. So the easiest way for fold outs for me is looking at it here. I've got a score line here, and then up here I have one. I'm going to pinch it on the top one. And I'm just going to slide this right on over my paper, making sure I am even from side to side. I'm going to flip this over and hold it. If you feel your paper slipping, start over, because chances are you're not going to get it on there straight. And then I'm just going to tack that. Now what I can do is push up on this part. So I'm going to do it on this one too. So I'm going to crease it here. Turn it around. Make sure it's even. Pinch it and tack it down. And then I'll move it up. So this is what yours should look like right now. Let's go ahead and get our paper here. Okay, you're going to want your pencil for this. Okay, so we need to find the paper for this and this. In your reserves, you will find this sheet, and I'm going to pull this back so I can get at it. And it's going to be too long if we were to place it down each way. So this is where our pencil comes in handy. And I'm just going to place that right up there, leaving a little bit of a black border here and on the side. And also I need to see where the end of my paper is over there, so I'm going to drag it down just a hair. And then I'm going to make a pencil mark here. So I'm going to trim that off, but I'm going to do my cuts at the same time. So I know where that is. Now, as far as getting to the length, now there's two score lines down here. We got the one right above the page, and then we have one up slightly. So that is the one that we want to watch out for. So I'm going to pull this over a little. Make sure I still have my little black border, and I can see the top score line there. And I'll just make a pencil mark. So now when I trim this way and that way, it's going to fit comfortably inside of this. Okay, so I've got mine cut, and if I were to lay it down right like this, it's going to clear that upper score line and give me a black border. So I'm ready to glue this down. I'm going to apply glue and center that. Okay, I was able to move my camera up a little bit to get a better view here. So for this one, in your reserves, you will have this piece on the back. It looks like this. So I am just going to place this down, and now my lower score mark is the one I'm going to look at. And I'm just going to place this so that I have a little bit of a black border on the side. And I'll make a mark over here. And then I'm going to move this over so I can see where that trim is. Making sure I got a black border in between that score line. And then I'll mark it over here. So my first cut is going to be this way and then that way. So let's do that. Before you add glue, let's go ahead and place our piece down to make sure we're clearing that score line. We have a border and we're even to side. And mine looks like it fits perfectly. I'm going to add glue and glue that down. Okay, we can go ahead and fold these in and set this off to the side. go ahead and cut a piece of cardstock that is 5 1/4 inches by 8 inches. So I am 5 1/4 inches across at 3/8. Let's go ahead and score. And we're also going to score at 9/16. I'm going to move mine over just a hair so I can get in that slot. And let's go ahead and fold on our score lines. Okay, our flap is going to be off to the right, or left, excuse me. You have a score line here and here. Let's go ahead and fold it so that the entire flap and the other score line is tucked back underneath. In your paper pack, you should have this print. On the back is the pink and white polka dots. Let's go ahead and trim off this. Let's flip our paper over so we're looking at the pink and white polka dots. At 4 1/2 inches, let's cut. Okay, larger piece here goes in our reserves. And we're going to make sure that this fits, giving us a little bit of a black border, and mine does on each side. So all I'm going to do is make sure I have that same black border up here. And then I'm going to come right on down here and make a pencil mark so that it will give me still a black border across the bottom. And I'll just go ahead now and put this on my paper cutter and trim. You were to place this down, you should be able to center and have black border all the way around. So let's just put that off to the side. In your reserves, you will have this little piece. And if you were to place it down in center, you'll have a little bit of pink on each side, top and bottom, and a larger down here. So all we're going to do here is apply glue and mount this. And when I'm mounting mine, I'm kind of centered between side to side, and whatever space is here, I'll leave up here. So let's go ahead and do that. Cut a piece of cardstock that is 6 1/8 inch by 3 inch. And check your reserves for black cardstock. That's what I did, and cut mine down. I'm going to use my 1/2 inch punch, the squirrels and the hearts, and I'm going to punch along the long side here. In your reserves, you should have this print on the back. It looks like this. All I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this upside down here. And all I'm going to do on this is measure down 3 inches and cut. This is what you should have. I'm going to flip this back around. Now, grab your panel here and just match up your sides and your bottom. Grab your pencil, make a pencil mark, and now let's trim that. Okay, this is the same thing we did before where we lined up our border back up with our machine or our punch. This we're going to slide and we are going to center so that we have the same amount on either side. And then once we see, we can pull that out and we know to punch. And we'll punch across that long side. Let's go ahead and apply glue and mount this on there. And I am leaving a little bit of black border up there. Let's mount this pocket. And wrap our flaps and tack it down. Okay, we're going to apply glue to the back of this. Make sure your flap is off to the left and that they are tucked back behind. And we are going to center this and glue that down. Let's go ahead and flip this over. The flap is now off to our right. There is one more thing that I do want to do on the inside of this, but we will do it in just a moment. Let's get our paper for this. In your reserves, you should have a square panel like this. And also, on the back of this long one, you'll have the musical notes. So I am just going to grab this and put it right on up. making sure I am clear of that inner score line. And I'm going to give myself a little bit of a black border. So I am going to make a mark here so I know where to cut down this way. I'm going to move this up a little bit. And then I'm going to make a mark so I can do that. Our first cut will be this way, and then we'll come down and cut that way. So let's do that. Check to make sure that you are fitting. And I am. I'm going to put this off to the side. And let's go ahead and grab another piece of scrap cardstock. Cut a piece of scrap cardstock, or if you need to get a new piece, that is 6 1/8 inches by 4 inches. And then we are going to punch along the long side. And I'm going to use my squirrels and hearts. Grab this piece, and we're just going to line it up side to side here. Make a mark. And then, so we'll cut this way first, and then we're going to cut it by 4 inches. So I'll show you mine. Should end up with a piece like this. And we are just going to punch along this side. And this is 4 inches down this way. So we are about 4 5/8 the long way. But before we do that, remember we have to slide this in here, match it all up. Almost forgot. That would have been a disaster. And we are just going to slide that in so we have flaps on either side. And once we know where it needs to be, we can remove this and start punching. Let's apply our glue and glue this down. And I am leaving a little bit of black showing, so I'll drag that down just a little bit. And you may have some black showing down here, but that's okay. We are going to cover that one up. Let's go ahead and mount this. Wrap our flaps around the back and tack it down. Let's grab our fold out, and again, flaps are off to the right, apply glue to the back, and mount this, and be very careful not to get near your inner score line there. Okay, let's get something for down here. Okay, on your sticker sheet, you'll see this trim right up here, just like that. But we need to measure how much we need. So I'm just going to slide that right on over to the side. And I will come down and make a mark right there, and I can erase anything. And then what I can do is just peel it up to see. Cut it as straight as I can. And now I can place this just like so. Okay, set this off to the side. We'll mount this onto our page like this in just a moment. And then we're going to do some decorating here. Let's open that up. Cut a piece of cardstock that is 8 inches by 3 inches. I have my deep edge, and this is the flower burst. And what I'm going to do is punch along both sides. So I'm going to line this up and start punching. So this is what mine looks like. In your reserves, you'll find your pink and white polka dots on the back. It looks like this. Let's go ahead and measure over, I would say, 2 7/8 of an inch. That's a hair under 3 inches. And we're going to cut. Okay, so on this I have my piece right back in my punch, and I want to see where I need to be. Now on this it's easy to start because I'm right at the edge here of my punch. So I'm going to punch along the long side, and just to make sure that I'm all even on one side, I am going to punch this whole thing. So let's do that. So as you can see, I'm going to line up just fine on this side. So the trick is, once you have that side done, You'll want to make sure where you need to start for the other side. And me, I'm slightly over the edge when I punch this, so I'm going to bring my paper up like so, and I'm going to start punching along the other side. Alright, I've got both of mine punched out both sides, so what I'm going to do is just lay that and center it. I should have the black flowers, the trim showing the black. So right now I'm going to glue this down and then I'll trim this up in just a moment. So let's do that. Alrighty, I went and laid mine down and I went ahead and snipped off what I don't need. I'm going to stick this in my reserves. And all I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to add glue. Make sure that this is centered side to side as best I can, but I'm going to add the glue right down here. And you won't want to use score tape because it will peek through your trim edge and it may catch onto this. So you'll definitely want to use your glue for this. And I am going to have to clean up some of this glue that seeps out. So we're going to allow this to dry for just a moment. You'll want to clean up your glue too if any squirted out. So now what we have here is a band. And in case yours is still sticky underneath, just slide some cardstock back behind like so and just move it around here every few seconds until you know that there is no more stickiness underneath there. And you can also blot it like that. See, I still had some. And then that way you don't have to worry about it sticking to your page. Okay, once yours is dry, what you're going to want to do is attach the fold out. And the flap is off to the left. You have score line here and a score line on the inside. Once you have it lined up like so, and it looks even, you have even spacing here, maybe up here and down below, you'll want to pinch it to hold it, okay? And then you'll flip it over and hold it and push down so that this does not slide on you. And then I'm just going to add some glue and tack that down. Alrighty, let's go ahead and cut a piece of lace. I'm using this one and glue it down right there. Okay, in your die cuts you should have this piece. Let's go ahead and glue this right on down. Now when you glue this, you're going to glue it all the way over to the left. Be careful not to go over the edge of your fold out page. Okay. You will also find this in your die cuts. We're going to apply glue and we are going to put that right like that. It is going to hang over the edge here. So let's do that. I am using the 49th and Market flowers. And I'm just going to stick that right here. I have a black burlap flower, and I'll just slide that right underneath the leaves there a little bit, like so. Okay, up top, you're going to want to find this. It's the gray one. And when you place this, you'll make sure that you don't go over the edge over here. So how I'm doing it is I'm bringing the tip up to the top here, and then this left little scallop will go to the edge of the pink paper over here. Okay. The next one is the large clock. So I'm going to apply some glue to that. And again, make sure that you don't go over your edges. And where's the one? The one's there. And I'm going to bring that up right about here. You will find this die cut with the rose. And we are going to apply that right here. And I'll put some hot glue there. And his wing does pop up over the page, like so. Let's go ahead and open up our fold out there. Now, what I'm looking for is this trim here. And actually, I think I'm going to run this on my paper cutter. It'll be easier to get in between the butterfly here and then that bottom border. It'll be easier to measure up. And I'll show you what I'm doing. So I divided this off, and you just got to be very careful that you don't cut off part of the thing. So now all I'm going to do is bring that up right here, measure what I need, and cut. So that should be about 6 inches. I'm assuming, just by looking, not quite, because the black cardstock's 6 inches. So anyway, I'm going to cut right here, and then I'm going to measure for the top part. So there's one, and then I will measure over from this side. And I need to get a straighter cut this time. I wasn't too straight on the bottom one over here. I'm going to fix that. Okay, so now all we need to do is place this border down. And this one. And I can't tell if I'm even or not, but you get the gist of it. In your die cuts, you'll find one that says a door. I'm just going to apply some glue here and just slap that at an angle on that page. Okay, I have opened this up. I see a loving our life. And I think I'm going to put that right down here. And I think I'll take you and me. Whoops, I took more than you and me. Put that back. And I'm going to stick that one right up here. And make sure you press down these stickers really good. Make sure that they stay down. So that is what you should have. And this band is so that you can slide in a folder or picture mats. This page is complete. Let's flip it over, score tape around the outside, one down the middle, 2 shorter ones, and mount this in our book. We're on page 6. Let's go ahead and cut 2 pieces of black cardstock that are 3.5 inches by 4 3/4 inches. And set those off to the side. In your reserves, you will find this long sheet on the back. It's that. We are going to measure over 3 3/8 of an inch and cut, and then we're going to measure over again 3 3/8 of an inch and cut. Okay, so this is what you should have, and this should fit nicely in here, I think. And it does. So let's go ahead and apply glue to the back of this. Glue that down. You'll center it so you have the black border around, and you'll do the same for this one. So let's do that. Okay, so these are actually going to be pockets where we can slide things in this side only. So I'm just going to flip this over. Now I'm going to just move this off to the side first off, but I'm going to put a thin, because score tape is wider, on this one I think I'm just going to use a thin line of glue here, across here, and down here. Okay, so I am just going to place this, and I'm going to center this from left to right, just bringing it up a little bit from the bottom. I am going to pinch it so there is a slight opening there. So pops up a little bit. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Apply glue, then layer, and then I'm going to mount that. So let's do that. Next, I grabbed one of the leaves from the 49th Street, and I am just going to apply glue right along the stem area here so that I can still slip a picture back behind these leaves, like so. And if when you do mount your picture you need to move these around, you can just pull them up and glue them whichever way you'd like. I'm going to take the black burlap flower and stick that right there. I've got a pink Kaiser Craft. Oops. And I'm going to put it partially over the black. Grab your die cut that says Cherish. Now underneath here I'm going to put a little glue right under this corner, and I'm going to slide it back underneath. Okay, and then it's going to come over at an angle, and I'm just going to put a dot of glue right here, not in front of the pocket opening though. That way it doesn't interfere, and you can still get something back to slide back behind there. Okay, there is Forever and Always, and I'm just going to put a little glue right there underneath the top, and that's just going to dangle, and you're going to glue it onto this die cut, and you can still slide something underneath like a picture. Okay, for the butterfly, he's going to angle off and he's going to go right here. So you may want to try and slide something back underneath so you don't get over that. I'm just going to put a little teeny dot, and I'm going to put him right on the edge so I still can get up until that point something back underneath there. If I wanted to slide something underneath, like a picture, it'd still look nice. Okay, this page is complete. Let's go ahead, flip it over, score tape around the outside, one down the middle, two shorter ones, and mount this in our book. We are ready to move on to page 7 and 8. Okay, we're going to complete page 7 and 8 together because they are identical. Before we get going here, let's go ahead. In our paper pack, we'll find another sheet like this. Let's trim off this piece. Let's go ahead, and we're going to do this a little bit different. We're going to measure over 8 inches and cut. Put this piece in reserves. Let's turn this. Now measure over 6 inches and cut. So over the past 6 months, I've had a couple people request that when I'm doing these mini albums, if I could please leave 2 pages without any pockets or fold outs. And so I am going to do that. I do want to add some embellishments. So if you are watching and one of those people, you don't have to embellish yours. I did, and I don't know if some of you noticed yet or not, but usually my pages, you know, we count them like a book, page 1, 2, 3. I actually have in here 14 pages. So 2 of these, which is 2 more than I normally do, because my books usually have 12 in there. So with that being said, let's lay out both of our pages, page 7 and 8, and grab some things. First of all, let's make a small bow out of ribbon and apply a flat back pearl to it. In your die cut, you will find the large gray, and we are going to glue that down right like that. I'm going to do that really quick. You will also find this in your die cuts. We're going to go ahead and cut that right in half. You can go ahead and stick this piece back in your die cuts. Let's go ahead, and I wanted to get my little dots out here, and I'm just going to apply to each of the top corners only, so you can still get a picture back behind there. So to the top corners it is. Let's go ahead and place that right up here. Whoops. That's good. Okay. Let's apply glue to our bow that we made and stick that right here. Okay, that page is done. Let's move on over to this one. Go ahead and find Devotion, and we're just going to glue that right down here. In your die cuts you will find this, and you will find the smile. Apply a glue dot to the back. I've done mine, and we'll just mount that right in the center there. And then we're going to apply glue and just stick that right over there. Okay, these two pages are complete. Let's flip them over, score tape around the outside, one down the middle, two shorter ones on either side on both, and we'll mount these in our book. Okay, let's grab some of our strips. Now this is optional. If you don't like this idea, don't do it, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to place this one. It says, "You are my sun, my moon, and all my stars." And it's going to be the same height as your binding here, your page height. So I'm just going to place that right there, and I'm going to make a mark with my pencil so that I get this right. And I'm going to trim it straight, and then I'm going to glue that down. So this is what mine looks like. Again, you don't have to. Let's flip our page. You should have "We Loved with a Love." It's the pink one. However, in order to get most of this on there, I'm going to have to cut off "we." So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is cut right before the L. So it's like this. Then I'm going to place this down, and that will give us just enough space to get the whole thing in. I'm going to apply glue, and I'm going to glue that down. Okay, next page. I'm going to grab a door, and I'm going to measure that up and trim that to fit and glue that one down. Just like that. One thing I want to stress is just steer clear of those score lines. These should be thin enough to where it doesn't interfere with folding the pages. So on this one, I'm going to center the word "I love you" to the moon and back between the two as best I can. And I'll make a mark. And then we're going to trim it and glue it down. We're all caught up now. We're on to the next pages. Alright, page 9. In your paper pack you will find another one of these sheets. On the back it's the pink rose clusters. So let's trim off this bottom piece. I'm going to flip my page around like this. I'm going to measure over 8 inches and cut. For now, just stick this off to the side. Now let's measure over 6 inches and cut. This is our page 10. Let's set this off to the side. We're going to work on this. Grab this piece, measure over, I would say 7 7/8 of an inch, and cut. Put this in reserves. Now let's measure over 2 inches and cut that right down the middle. Stick this off to the side for page 10, and we'll just put that off to the side. Okay, we'll get to the cardstock here in a moment. In your reserves, you should have this long piece, the pink and white polka dots. On the back, it looks like this. Let's go ahead and measure over, I would say 8 inches on this one, and cut. Okay, small piece goes in reserves. Now let's measure over 2 inches and cut this right down the middle. I have an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock here. I have the deep edge type punch. This is the scroll pattern. And I'm going to go ahead and punch along the long side. Now, let's go ahead and slide this back in to where we are even on both sides and we're lined up with the trim punch. Let's slide this in over the top. And we're going to try to be as even as we can so that we have equal amounts of black cardstock on either side. So once you have that in place, slide that out, and we're going to punch along the long side of this. So let's do that. All right, let's go ahead and apply glue to the back of this. Let's line this up. And I'm going to leave a little bit of black showing. And I'm just going to glue that right on down. Next, let's grab this piece. And we are going to bring that up like so. And you'll have a little bit of pink showing over here. And that's just fine. Just make sure even. And then we're going to apply glue. And we will layer that just like that. And glue it down. Once you have it down, stick this on your paper cutter and slice that to trim it up. Let's get our score tape and mount this pocket. I'm going to turn my page here so I can get at it. We'll wrap those and tack them down. So this is what you should have in your die cuts. You should have this, and we are just going to cut that right up the middle. Let's grab a Zotz. Put one here and one on the other side. And we're just going to slightly angle that like so, staying on this paper. Cut a piece of cardstock that is 8 inches by 6¼ inches. Let's get our scoreboard out. We are going to score at 1/2 inch. And then, whoops, I didn't quite get that all the way down. Okay, and then let's go ahead and score at 5/8 of an inch. Okay, so let's go ahead and fold on our score lines here. Okay, let's go ahead and punch along the long side. And I'm going to use the scroll pattern one. Let's go ahead, our flaps are off to the left right now. Let's just tuck that flap back behind. In your paper pack, you will find this sheet on the back. It's like a white color. Let's go ahead and trim off that trim piece. Let's go ahead and measure over 5½ inches and cut. Put that in our reserves. Let's go ahead and measure over 7 7/8 of an inch and cut. Let's go ahead and make sure that we're going to line up here and I see where I need to be. And we're going to punch along the long side. Let's double check to make sure that we fit, and we do. Go ahead and stick this off to the side. Okay, let's go ahead and grab another piece of cardstock. We're just going to measure over 2½ inches and cut. I'm going to use this same punch and punch along the long side. In your reserves, you will find this sheet. I'm just going to flip it over this way. Let's measure over 2 3/8 of an inch and cut. Go ahead and measure over 7 7/8 of an inch and cut. I'm going to put this right in the middle there. And I need this centered. And now I'm just going to punch along the long side. So our trim is facing this way, and we're just going to apply glue to this. Leave a little bit of black showing there, and glue that down so that you have flaps here. Alright, so right now we have our white panel, and we're just going to place a score tape right to the left side there, and we're going to mount this side pocket to it. And I'll make sure I am even. And we will wrap our flaps around the back, tack them down. Let's go ahead and apply glue to the back of this and mount that on our piece. In your reserves, you will have this sheet. Let's turn it like this. Measure over 7 7/8 of an inch and cut. Now let's measure over 5 3/8 of an inch and cut. Line these up. So right about there. So what I'm going to do is, when I've got my thing lined up, and I have to line it up with the panels on the outside, at least I do. So what I am going to do is I'm going to flip this over and just slide that in so that I'm even there. Now I can slide that out, and now I know I'll get a accurate punch. So let's go ahead and do that once we do the lineup. So flap should be off to our right. Let's flip this over and see if I fit, and I do. So I am going to glue that right on down there, and you'll be able to see some of your black and your gray from the underneath. It looks really nice. So yours should look like this. Let's go ahead and attach this, and I'm just going to crease it on the outer score. Line these two up, pinch it, flip it over, and tack that down. And then I can move it back. So let's add some pink colors to this. On your other sticker sheet, let's get this out. I'm going to fold this back so it's easier for me to measure. And I'm just going to line that right up there to measure to fit. And I'm going to turn this so I can see what I'm doing here. I can't see what I'm doing. Hopefully that looks even. I think so. Good enough. I'm going to cut a piece of lace, and it's kind of like the scallops. And I'm going to glue that down right there. Okay, we're going to need 3 things. I have one of my 49th Street pink flowers, a white butterfly, and this one. We're going to want to slide a piece of cardstock back behind here to protect our page. I'm going to add a little glue to the middle of this flower. Make sure that your petal does not go over the edge. This one is going to hang just like this. Okay, the butterfly is right here, so I'm going to try and get that at an angle there. And then he's going to need a little underneath this wing. And those should be secure. Let's open this up. Fine, remember, add a little glue and mount it down here. This page is complete. Let's put put our score tape around the back and mount it in our book. Okay, let's go ahead and grab this strip. It says Forever on it. Actually, I'm going to go right like this, and I'll say Forever, and then the last words down here is time. So I'm going to measure this to fit. Cut it and glue it down. Let's move on to page 10. Page 10, grab this, we set it aside. We're actually going to flip it over and use this side. Let's go ahead and cut a piece of cardstock, and you'll want to look in your scrap pile first. We want a 2 1/16 inch by 7 inch strip. I also had you set aside this when we set aside this paper. Let's go ahead and measure over 6 inches and cut. Okay. If you notice and you place this down and bring it all the way over this way, it'll be a nice fit with just a hair of black showing around there. So let's go ahead and apply our glue and mount this. Go ahead and place yours so you are flush over here, and then what we're going to do is fold that around the back, and we're just going to glue that down like so. Let's grab a magnet, and I'm going to place one right here. In my reserves, I should have a clipping like this. It is your choice. You'll have a thicker edge right here, but you can do this side or this side, whichever one that you prefer to do. I think I am going to use, heck, let's go with that side. So I'm going to glue this down. Alrighty, so I am going to flip this on over. Let's get the mate. And this is where you're going to want to make sure it's kind of tight. So once you have it like this, go ahead and push your paper down, let it find its mate, and glue it. So you should be clipping just like that. I may have got mine on a little crooked, but I think that's okay. Let's find the small die cut clock and love, and we're just going to glue that down right here. I'm going to overlap a little there. Should have a small little pink die cut butterfly, and I'm going to stick it right here. Got a piece of cardstock that is 5 3/8 inch by 5 1/2 inches. In your reserves, you will find this piece. It's square and it will fit perfectly, leaving you just a small bit of a border. Now I have this to where I am 5 1/2 inches across, so you'll want to place yours like so. Go ahead and glue that down. We're going to go ahead and set this off to the side. Go ahead and cut a piece of cardstock out of your scraps. Look there first. That is 1 1/2 inches by 8 1/2 inches. And we're going to punch along the long side. In your reserves, you will find a scrap piece like this on the back. It's polka dotted. Measure over 6 inches and cut. Let's go ahead and we're going to punch along the long side. So you may have this down pat, but for me, I always have to kind of measure to see where I'm at. So I'm going to just punch along. Go ahead and glue your piece down. It will be slightly longer than this. Don't worry about it. We will trim that up shortly. Have mine down. Now I'm just going to flip this over and I am going to trim off this excess pink. Okay, let's grab our score tape and we are going to mount this. And this is for anything that you place under here. You have a pocket there to catch it, so it doesn't, we didn't put the magnet in the middle. I wanted it over here, but this is so that you have a place with your mats, and this will just hold it all down. And let's tack down those flaps. In your reserves, you will find this sheet. Let's go ahead and measure over 4.5 inches and cut. Let's measure over 5 1/4 inches and cut. All right, one more piece to the puzzle here. In your reserves, you should be able to find a long strip of pink. Okay. What you're going to want to do is, first off, let's just measure up what we need here. There we go. Trim it. Now we want this to be a band here, so all I'm going to do is apply glue to the back of this. We'll do this the easy way. I'm going to leave a little bit of black here so I can wrap this around, and I'm going to mount this right next to the edge where I still have the black. And now I'm going to put this on my paper cutter and trim on this side. Okay, I'm just going to snip off a little bit of this here. I don't need that long. These two go together. Let's get our scoreboard out. Let's place our piece, and we are 5 1/2 inches across at the 4 3/4 inch. Let's score. And it looks like I want to be at 4 7/8. I'm going to score. Then I'm going to fold. Whoops, somebody's here. So I'm going to turn this over. My flap is going to be off to the left. Make sure you have your panel piece going the right way so that you're not over or too far in your score lines. So all we're going to do is place this down, pinch it, wrap our flaps. Once you have that, apply glue to the back of this and mount that. Make sure you push down really good with your glue. Okay, let's attach. We'll just go ahead and, where do I want this? I want this up a little bit higher, so I'm going to place that right like this. Pinch it and tack that down. I'm going to layer the small butterfly over the pink butterfly. Add a little glue in the center there, like so. There it goes. I'm going to put a small dot of glue right there. Happy goes down here, and I'm going to use one of my 3D dots for that. If you have bling, let's go ahead and cut a couple of these off and glue that to the center of the butterfly here. In your reserves, you should find a small clipping just like this, and it should slide right in there nicely. Let's glue that down. This page is complete. Let's flip it over, score tape around the back, and mount it in our book. Page 9 and 10 are done. Let's move on to page 11. We're on page 11, and in your paper pack you'll find the musical notes page. Let's go ahead and trim off that bottom piece. Let's go ahead and measure over 6 inches and cut. We're going to do page 11 and 12 together. Let's go ahead and double these up. Measure over 8 inches and cut. Go ahead and stick these in your reserves. In your paper pack, you will find this sheet. Let's first trim off this. Let's measure over 5 inches and cut. Larger piece goes in our reserve. Let's measure over 6 inches and cut. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and just stick those off to the side. Go ahead and cut 2 pieces of cardstock that are 5 inches by 8.5 inches. I'm going to use my 1/2 inch punch, and this is abstract flower. And I'm going to punch along the long side of each one of these. Let's go ahead and insert this so that it's lined up as best you can. Let's do this by putting it right in the middle. And then let's go ahead and punch. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. Now let's just go ahead and add our glue. Line these up. I am going to have a little bit of black showing up here. And I am going to glue these two together, and I'm going to do the same with this one. Let's go ahead and mount our pockets. Wrap our flaps around the back and tack them down. And we're going to do the same thing for this one. I've got my 1/2 inch lace. And I'm going to cut a strip for each side. I'm going to glue that down. And then if you've got bling and you're using bling, let's go ahead and measure up enough to fit for each side and glue that down as well. I'm going to give my bling some time to adhere to the lace. If you're using flat back pearls, let's go ahead and add one to the center up here. My bling is still trying to dry. Put one in the middle over here too, right under that bling. Okay, so I have been using some of the sequined lace that looks like this. And I did cut out 2 of these off of it. I'm going to glue one down here, and I'm going to glue one right here. I have a little die cut that says Forever, and I'm going to put some glue right here. I'm going to grab my cream colored 49th Street, and I'm going to stick that right there. In your die cuts, you should have this because we went ahead and cut the other side off. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue and put that off at an angle. You'll also have a butterfly, and I'm grabbing one of the black Kaiser Craft blooms, and I'm going to stick it right in the middle of him. Whoops, he got away from me. Just stick him like that. And then you will find our love story little die cut. Add some glue and just stick that right there. I cut a small piece of that 1/2 inch lace. I'm just going to put a dot right in the middle there. And do this, and then I'm just going to apply some glue and tack that right up underneath that leaf. This is what mine looks like. In your die cuts, you should have this left over. I'm going to apply a little glue and stick that right there. I've got a black Kaiser Craft paper bloom, and this came from the 49th Street Market, and I have that left. I'm going to apply a little bit of glue there and stick this one here, and then I'm going to stick the black one right next to it. Put that in there. These 2 pages are complete. Let's flip them over, score tape to the back of them, and mount them in our book. Page 11 and 12, we are done, and moving on to the last 2 pages. In your paper pack, you will have this sheet on the back. It's white. Let's trim off that bottom piece. Measure over 6 inches and cut. We're going to double these up. Measure over 8 inches and cut. Set page 12 off to the side. In your paper pack, you will find this sheet on the back. It's the pink roses. Let's trim off this bottom part. Measure over 2.5 inches and cut. Put your larger piece in reserves. Let's measure over 8 inches and cut. Go ahead and put this in reserves. Let's grab a piece of cardstock, and I am 11 inches down this way. Measure over 2.5 inches and cut. So let's go ahead and punch along the long side, and I am using the deep edge one, which is Flower Burst. So let's go ahead and punch. And then what we're going to do is we'll slide in our other piece, line it up, and in the center. I did trim off any excess I didn't need. I just left enough to wrap around. So let's grab our, and I did glue these two together. It's the same thing we've been doing. And I'm just going to lay my score tape down the side here. And I'm going to mount this side pocket. And of course, we're going to tap down our flaps. I've got my sequin lace that is scalloped like this. And I'm just going to cut a piece to fit, and then I'm going to glue it down. Again, remember, if you have a piece of cardstock, you can slide back behind just in case glue seeps through some of these. I recommend grabbing a piece. In your reserves with your die cut pieces, you should have another side that looks like this because we cut it. I'm just going to add a little glue. Stick that here. Now this is from the 49th Street, and this is what's left. I did remove my little pink center, whoops, and replaced it with a flat back pearl to jazz it up just a little bit. And I'm going to stick that right here. Out of my little burlap flowers that are black, I'm going to add a little glue and just tuck that right back behind a little. Just like that. I'm on the sticker sheet, and I'm going to take Documented. It's in pink. I'm going to stick that right up here. This page is complete. Let's flip it over, score tape around the outside, and mount this in our book. Grab this trim, and it's We Loved with a Love That Was More Than Love. You are going to have to take a hair more off the trimming, like I did, so it doesn't get caught up. I'm going to clip it just right over here in front of the L, and then right after the E where it needs to be. And I think I'm about right here. Perfect. So before you glue it down, make sure your page, it does not catch on either side. And now mine is fine because I trimmed it. And I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. Let's set our album off to the side, and we are on our final page 14. So we will start. Here is our base sheet. Let's get some things together for it. Cut 4 pieces of cardstock that is 4 3/4 inch by 4 inch. Let's grab our scoreboard. On each one of these, you are going to score at 4 1/4 on each one of these. And when you're done, let's go ahead and fold on our score lines. And get these ready to place. So I have all mine laying down here. We're going to need our score tape for this, and I am like this. And we're going to go ahead and lay a piece of score tape right to the right side of the score line on each one of these. So we will trim down any excess. Let's just place this first rather than get it cut down too far and no error or no room for error. So you'll want to place your score tape, like I said, in the same place on all of them. Flip it over. If you have score tape peeking over the edge, you'll definitely need to get that off there. So I'm going to check each one of mine and trim. Once you have your score tape down, go ahead and cut it off any excess. And you'll make sure that when you are cutting yours, and I'm going to grab my trimmer, and my blade runs right here, that when you place this, you are flush against the bar that keeps you straight, and just get right to the outside. Okay, so if your score tape is off at an angle, your trimmer will take off to straighten it up. So I'm going to do this with each one of mine. Just make sure I'm flush and trim them all. So we're going to place all of these first, and then we'll find paper to put on there. Somewhere in the center, wherever you'd like actually, I'm just going to go here. Center meaning top to bottom. Now when I want you to pull back your flap underneath so you can see what you're doing, you should have about 1/8 of an inch of your paper still showing. Okay, that's where this first one gets placed. And I need my craft knife. Here we go. So I'm going to remove this and show you, and we're going to place each one together. So somewhere in the middle between top and bottom, I've got about 1/8 of an inch of my paper showing. I'm holding it so it doesn't slip, and then I'm just going to smooth over, flip this and smooth it. This next one, make sure you've creased yours. I'm going to remove my score tape. And how this gets placed is, it's real easy, kind of like when we were doing our book. We're just going to make sure we're even next to each other, come flush against the other one, as you can see. Smooth it down and over. The next one, same thing. Get it straight there, flush, press it down and over. And that'll help you keep straight over going across your paper. Next one. And over. And if you get a little off on your thing, this is what I want you to do. Hold your paper down. Bring your edge of this flush with the other ones. Then you can smooth back. Okay, and smooth it back like so, and then it will straighten you out. Okay, let's start getting our paper for this, and this is what you should have. In your reserves, you will have this print. On the back, it looks like this. Measure over 4 1/16 of an inch and cut. The other piece goes in your reserves. Measure over 3 7/8 of an inch and cut. Measure over again 3 7/8 of an inch and cut. And then you can measure over to 3 7/8 of an inch. So you should get 3 squares out of this. So make sure that when you place down your first one on that black square, fold out, that you can center it. You'll have a black border going around. If you were to try and place it the wrong way, your paper won't fit. So let's apply glue to this, center it, and glue it down. Let's flip our page. Flip one of these over here. Which one? I'll take the more colorful one. And I'm going to center that on the next one and glue it down. And make sure that you don't get on your score line there. The next one, very easy. Let's grab the other pink one, center it, and glue it down. In your reserves, you will have this piece. Let's measure over 4 1/16 and cut. Measure over 3 7/8 of an inch and cut. Alrighty, let's just go ahead and flip that over and let's mount that. And you can do it any way you want. I'm going to pull mine over this way and glue that down. So this is what yours should look like. Let's go ahead and flip these over the other way. In your reserves, you will find these as well as these. So what I'm going to do, and I'm not sure if I should cut all 4 of mine at once, I may have to do 2 at a time, is on all of these, my first cut is going over 4 1/16 of an inch. Next, I'm going to move over 3 7/8 of an inch and cut. Alright, so each square is 4 1/16 by 3 7/8. I'm going to start this off. I'm going to apply glue to this one, and if you don't want it dark, you can turn it over this way for the musical notes. I'm going to go dark with mine. So on each one, I'm going to alternate this one, this one, this one, and then glue that one down. So let's go ahead and get all of our pieces done. So you should have yours looking like this. So right now what I want you to do is to hold your paper out and slightly give these a bend. And then you can lay your paper back down. So there is something that we need to do first. And in your die cuts you will find these. And let's just start here by adding a little glue. I think you can see this right there. So yours should look kind of like that. Okay, we do need a magnet. But first we need to know where we want to place it. So if you were to place this down the edge here, right here, okay, look to see where your hello is sticking. Grab a magnet. We'll start with one at a time. On your sticker sheet, we're going to grab one of these hearts, and I'm going to grab the pink Adore one. That is the one that's going to place over this magnet. So I pretty much have a good idea where that needs to fall. And I'm going to place this down. And then I'm going to place the Adore. Now I got to make sure that the edge of this heart does not go over the edge. So that is just to cover our magnet. Okay, now for this one, we have to back it with cardstock to give it just a little more strength. So, actually, we're going to do this the easier way. Definitely easier way. Just apply some glue to the back of this. Find a piece of scrap cardstock to where your heart will fit top to bottom without going over. And you'll want to place it somewhere in the center because we will be needing a flap to go around the other side. Okay. I'm only going to be cutting off right at the tip there. And then what I can do is kind of cut around. So you can kind of see what I've done. And I'm just going to round around the heart there a little better. And for me, that is good enough. Okay, the mate. Let's go ahead and find our other one. Just put it right up on top there. Let's dab it. Now, what you're going to want to do is when you put this on there, don't worry about this part. Just place it down first, like so. Okay. This may be more difficult than what you're used to, but just hold it there, okay? Now, once you've got it held in place, go ahead and just pull that back behind so you know where your crease is, okay? And you know where that magnet needs to go now. You can see it, the glue dot. And we'll cover up the black in that magnet. Okay, let's find our piece. I'm going to pull off of my sticker sheet. I like the Soulmate. And this is just going to go right here and over that magnet, okay? Okay, this is the time where you want it to fasten. Just kind of straighten it up. If you're like this, just straighten it up. Make sure that you hold these down. Your paper is flat. You hold these two down, pinch these two so it's not bulking you up. Now just bring this back around, pinch it, keep it in place. I've got stuff all over. And tack it down, okay? Now when it lays flat, we got the score tape and it goes in our book. It's going to latch properly. So I'm holding this flat. So now as you can see, it holds. Cut a piece of cardstock that is 6 inches by 8 inches. And then we're going to lay this on our scoring board. I'm 6 inches across. At 5.5 inches, I'm going to score. And then I think we are going to, from your score line, measure over about 3/16 of an inch. And I'm going to move mine over just a hair. And then you'll score again. Let's fold on our score lines. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and pinch my flap completely back behind. In your reserves, you should have this sheet. It should fit perfectly top to bottom, giving you a black border. Now move over the page a little bit so you have a black border over here. Let's get our pencil, and remember your flap is tucked back behind. Make a mark and trim. Let's double check ourselves and just lay this right down. If you center this, you should have a black border running all the way around. And I do. So I'm going to set this off to the side. I want to put a pocket here. Move this out of the way. Cut a piece of cardstock that is 6 3/4 of an inch by 4 inch. Check your reserve cardstock pile. I'm going to use the same punch, and it's the deeper edge one, the flower burst. And I'm going to punch along the long side. In your reserves, you should have this very pretty rose print. On the back is the pink and white polka dots. Measure over 4 inches and cut. Grab your panel piece and just match these up corner to corner. Make a mark with your pencil and let's trim that. Now let's go ahead and line this back up here. And I'm just going to go somewhere there in the middle. Now one thing you can do is, now when I start punching, I'm going to be a little off center. So this is what I'm going to do first. I'm going to try and move this over enough so I still have flaps to get back behind, but to put this in the center. So with that being said, I'm just going to make a mark right there where the side of my pink paper is. By doing that, when I line this back up in here, like so, I can now see that pencil mark and know where this piece needs to come over. Okay? And then I can just slide this out and punch across the long side. As you can see, my first punch, I'm already centered. Now, you know, I'm looking at this And we're going to have pink against pink, or we can flip this over and have a slightly different color. And you know what? I am going to go with this color. So it makes no difference either way. So what I'm going to do is make sure I have a little bit of black showing, and I am going to glue this together. Okay, grab your score tape. We're going to mount our pocket. And again, mine is moved over more. And we'll wrap our flaps and tack them down. Okay, flaps are off to the right, tucked back behind. Let's apply glue and mount this. I have some of this beaded sequins lace, and I am going to cut it to fit across, and then I'm going to glue that right on down. So let's do that. I'm in my Jolie's, and I'm going to grab this. If you have sequins, you can just, like little sequin balls or the pearls already on it, you can just cut a space so that you can lay this flat. And that's what I'm going to do. There we go. Much better. Okay, let's go ahead and open this up for here. In your paper pack, you will find this sheet. Let's trim off the bottom. Okay, I want some pink in here, so I'm just gonna, my flap's off to the left, and I'm just gonna lay this right on down so I can still see a black border of my page here, and I'm gonna have a black border in between that inner score line. So with my pencil, I'm just going to make a mark, and I'm going to cut. Alright, I'm going to place this down where it's supposed to be. And we're just going to do the same thing. Make a mark up here, and now cut. Let's apply glue and glue this down. Let's attach our fold-out page. And I'm going to pinch it on the outside score line there. And I'm going to slide it right on over until it is even. And now I'm just going to glue this down. I put a little too much, so hopefully it doesn't squirt in between my pages, because that's the problem with hot glue, the things that can happen. So let's see. Nope, I'm right on. We're good. This page is complete. Let's go ahead and add score tape to the back, and we will mount this together in the book. I've got my album here, so pretty much all I'm going to want to do is make sure I am even with the top of this page to here, and I'm going to scoot this over a little, right there. So as soon as I get down on this, I'm going to open this up and smooth it out completely. I'm going to open this up now and make sure I get that really good. Anything down there. And you should still latch. Okay. This album is complete other than we need to attach our drits to the side. So let's get some ribbon. Okay, go ahead and grab the hook to your drits, and I have probably about 12 inches here of ribbon. And I'm going to feed it up through one side and down through the other. And if you find that your clasp, if it's sliding out, you can use a pair of pliers or something like that to squeeze it shut more. Mine seems to be okay. Okay, so you have yours going through like this. Let's go ahead and hook it. Now remember, we do not have our picture mats in, so you're not going to want to cinch it like this. And I wouldn't think that you'd want to anyway. So we're just going to let it go natural here. And I'm going to bring these ends. I'm going to have enough play, as you can see. I have it hooked here. I don't want it out too far like this because that's too much play. So I'm just going to bring it in, and I'm straight here, I think you can see. For me, once I find where it needs to be, where I've still got some play, so that when I add picture mats, it doesn't tighten too much, is I'll pinch it over here what I need. Now I'm going to put a little hot glue here down for one, and then a dab for the other to hold that. Okay, now I can flip this over, and if I want, I can just put a little glue like so, bend it back. And I can do the same with this one. Arrange it to how I want it to lay. Twist it around there. And then what I can do after I've got that, you'll want to make sure that you've got glue underneath this and it's going to hold. Let's grab our Jolie's embellishment and just place that right there. I'm just going to add some hot glue and place that down. So now let's take a look. Mine is standing nice. I still have plenty of room to add in between my pages. And the side looks like this. I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. I don't do picture mats with you because everyone has their own taste and style of what size pictures. For me, I like to back my picture mats with black cardstock, leaving maybe a 1/16 inch of black showing like a frame around. Please join me next time for my next tutorial. And I will be working with the Heartfelt Creations flowering dogwood paper, and that is just absolutely gorgeous too. So happy crafting, everybody, and have fun with this tutorial.